Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to dive into the last part of Section 3, Responsibility to Clients and Stakeholders. We are diving into real-world mock exam scenarios based on BACB Ethics Codes 3.9 to 3.12. We'll explore situations that challenge you to apply your ethical knowledge in practical, real-life settings. Whether you're studying for the BACB exam or just looking to sharpen your skills, these examples will help you think critically about effective decision making. So, grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's jump right in. Let's look at mock exam question number 1. A behavior analyst forgets to document a session conducted with a non-verbal child with autism last week. Now, the analyst is unsure if they should recreate the session notes from memory or leave it undocumented. The child's progress depends on accurate data, and the analyst feels stressed about the potential impact of missing documentation on the treatment plan. Furthermore, the analyst knows that incomplete records could create legal or ethical issues during audits. What should the analyst do? 1. Skip the missed documentation and ensure future sessions are recorded accurately. 2. Write the documentation from memory and submit it as if it was done on time. 3. Inform the supervisor about the oversight and document the session as soon as possible. 4. Stop providing services to avoid further future documentation mistakes. Option 1. Skipping the missed documentation isn't acceptable because complete and accurate records are critical. Omitting documentation compromises transparency, and this child's progress depends on having reliable data. Option 2. Writing the notes from memory and pretending they were done on time is problematic. It essentially means falsifying records, which is clearly unethical and could lead to serious consequences. Option 3. This is our best choice. By informing your supervisor about the oversight and then documenting the session as accurately as possible, you take responsibility for the mistake. This approach aligns with Code 3.11, which stresses the importance of maintaining accurate records and correcting errors promptly. Even if the documentation isn't perfect, noting the delay and explaining the situation is much better than leaving a gap. Option 4. Discontinuing services to avoid future mistakes is an overreaction. While documentation is important, stopping services isn't the solution and could negatively impact the client's progress. So the correct answer is option 3. Inform the supervisor about the oversight and document the session as soon as possible. Mock exam question number 2. A behavior analyst is providing home-based services to a child with developmental delays. The family has recently expressed frustration with the child's lack of progress and requested frequent reports. The analyst usually writes progress reports at the end of each month, but the parents are now asking for weekly summaries. The analyst feels overwhelmed by the extra workload and is unsure whether adjusting the documentation frequency will compromise the quality of the data. What should the analyst do? 1. Agree to provide weekly reports to meet the parents' needs. 2. Inform the parents that reports will remain monthly, but offer to discuss progress between reporting periods. 3. Delay all documentation until a better system for reporting is created. 4. Request that the family contact the emergency supervisor to negotiate reporting frequency. Alright, let's break it down. Option 1, agreeing to provide weekly reports could lead to burnout and may lower the quality of the documentation, which isn't ideal. Option 2 is the best choice because it maintains the integrity of the data by keeping monthly reports but offering to meet in person between reporting periods. The analyst can give the parents timely updates without compromising documentation quality. Option 3 is not acceptable because delaying documentation creates gaps and risks missing critical information. Option 4 is unnecessary as it could escalate the situation rather than resolve it. Therefore, the correct answer is option 2. Inform the parents that the reports will remain monthly but offer to meet between discuss periods progress between reporting periods. Mock exam question number 3. A behavior analyst is working with a young client who receives 10 hours of therapy per week through insurance coverage. After reviewing the child's progress, the analyst concludes that 20 hours per week would be more appropriate to meet the therapy goals. The insurance representative insists that 10 hours is the policy limit, despite the analyst's professional recommendation. The analyst feels frustrated but must decide the most ethical way to advocate for the clients. What should the analyst do? 1. Continue with the 10 hours and make no further request to the insurer. 2. Submit a revised service plan justifying the need for additional hours to the insurance company. 3. Tell the family to pay out of pocket for the additional hours. 4. Discontinue services until the insurer agrees to provide more hours. Alright, let's break down this scenario in detail. Option 1. Continue with the 10 hours and make no further request to the insurer. This isn't the best choice because as a behavior analyst, you have the responsibility to advocate for the services your client truly needs. Simply accepting a limitation might help avoid conflict, but it doesn't serve the client's best interests. Option 2. Submit a revised service plan justifying the need for additional hours to the insurance company. This is the correct answer because Code 3.12 emphasizing the importance of advocating for the appropriate levels of service. By submitting a revised plan, you provide a well-documented professional argument that demonstrates why 20 hours are necessary to achieve the client's treatment goals. This approach shows that you're committed to optimizing client outcomes while adhering to ethical standards. Option 3. Tell the family to pay out of pocket for the additional hours. This option is not appropriate because it places an undue financial burden on the family. It also shifts their responsibility from advocating within the insurance framework to expecting the family to shoulder extra costs, which can be inequitable and counter to ethical practice. Option 4. Discontinue services until the insurer agrees to provide more hours. Discontinuing services would harm the clients by interrupting their treatment, and it's not a constructive way to resolve the issue. The goal should be to work with the insured to find a solution, not to halt services abruptly. Therefore, the correct answer is option 2. Submit a revised service plan justifying the need for additional hours to the insurance company. Mock exam question number 4. A behavior analyst has been asked to use a new, untested intervention technique by the director of a therapy center. The director argues that it will make the center stand out and attract more clients. However, the analyst has concerns because the intervention does not have sufficient research backing its effectiveness. The analyst knows that sticking to evidence-based methods is critical for ensuring the best outcomes for clients, but also worries about disappointing the director. What should the analyst do? 1. Agree to use the intervention since the director has requested it. 2. Offer to pilot the intervention on one client to see if it works. 3. Refuse to use the intervention and explain the need for evidence-based methods. And 4. Report the center to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, BACB, for unethical practices. Let's look at the details. Agree to use the intervention since the director has requested it. This is not correct because accepting an untested method just to please the director compromises the analyst's professional integrity and could put the client at risk. Sticking to evidence-based practices is essential for ensuring the best outcomes. Offer to pilot the intervention on one client to see if it works. This option is risky since testing an unproven intervention on a client without sufficient research support is unethical. It could expose the client to potential harm and jeopardize treatment quality. Refuse to use the intervention and explain the need for evidence-based methods. This is correct because Code 3.12 emphasizes advocating for evidence-based practices and ensuring that interventions are validated. The analyst should maintain ethical standards by educating the director on the importance of using methods with solid research backing, even if it means disappointing the director. Report the center to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, BACB, for unethical practices. This is not necessary at this stage. Rather than jumping straight to formal complaints, the analyst should first address the issue directly with the director by explaining the concerns and the need for evidence-based methods. So, the best course of action is to refuse the intervention and explain the need for evidence-based methods. Answer number 3. Thanks for watching today's session on our mock exam scenarios for BACB Ethics Codes 3.9 to 3.12. I hope these examples help sharpen your ethical decision-making skills and gave you practical insights for real-world situations. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next session. Feel free to drop your questions or comments below. I love hearing from you. See you in the next video.